Okay, so you're touching on a sensitive subject there. I haven't read Stephen King, nor has my dad. I mean, I've read a page or two. But again,
Mhm.
neither of us is really into like horror novels.
Mhm.
I love some of his movies that were based on some of his work, like obviously Stand By Me, based on The Body. I love
Mhm.
that movie. I love The
Yeah.
Shining. But what happened is a little bit of sour grapes. When The Exorcist first came out, King's book, Vance Macabre, came out at some point in which he talked about The Exorcist. He said some very negative things, which really offended me. He said, Blatty belongs to the plotting, tracked school of horror fiction. And he said something like Blatty's got no sense of humor. And he says, with any luck, Blatty has fallen silent and we won't hear from him again. Those were the
Wow.
comments he made about The Exorcist. And I pointed that out to my dad at some point. I guess it was like indiscreet of me. I probably shouldn't have. But my dad said something positive about that Stephen King had said something nice to him. And I said, well, that's
Yes.
weird because he really trashes you in this book. And he goes, well, really? What did he say? And I told him, and he said, my dad didn't really care the way I did. It really bugged me.
Sure.
Because he's a fellow writer. And I thought, why would you say something like, not just that you didn't like the book, but that you hope he never writes again? And my dad said to me, well, that really surprises me, because he said, I ran into Stephen King in like the green room on one of these talk shows. And he said he came up to me and was effusive and said to me, Bill, Mr. Blatty, I have to thank you. He said, you're kind of my literary father. Now, this is what my dad told me King said to him. And then I said, well, look, I think I'm going to write to King and I'm going to tell him. And my dad said, no. He said he was very polite to me. Don't go stirring anything up. I don't care what he had to say. He said, I tried to read him once and I found him unreadable. So, yeah, I mean, I'm just saying, but I mean, I think my dad only read a page or two. But so anyway, so when I hear Stephen King, but having said that, everything I've read about him, and I actually attended a talk he gave once at Harvard, and I was really impressed with him. He seems like a really nice guy. And so I have to think those comments were just a moment of like indiscretion of something, because when my dad passed away, he tweeted, he said, so long, old Bill, the author of the great horror novel of our time. I think maybe it was his way of making amends for what he had written. Anyway, actually, my dad said to me, I would describe that just probably professional jealousy. That was my dad's take on it.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking too.
But he wouldn't have responded personally, and he wouldn't have said that personally. Okay, so you're touching on a sensitive subject there. I haven't read Stephen King, nor has my dad. I mean, I've read a page or two. But again, neither of us is really into like horror novels. I love some of his movies that were based on some of his work, like obviously Stand By Me, based on The Body. I love that movie. I love The Shining.